just beneath the surface. Come to see one of them. Now, while we have it right alongside, look for a light band. Look for a light patch on their side. Right on the shoulder of the animal, behind the blowholes. Look for a light band. See that light band right there? This one's going down for a dive as well. Dragging the tail roots along the surface. I'm sure everyone's going to follow suit. Well, you're able to see that
there's three of them
on their side. That's called the chevron pattern. Now, fin whales are unusual amongst all whales in the sense that they are asymmetrically colored. Symmetry is a word most of you have probably heard before.
Helen! Helen!
Bears all right here, right now. And you notice oftentimes you'll see a little whale right alongside a big whale. It's always another calf. And whenever you have a lot of adults and calves sort of cavorting like this, young baby whales are just like young baby humans, and they get a little bit excited. And you sometimes see that type of behavior.
I got that on film too.
Oh.
Not sure which calf that is. I'm not sure whose calf it is that's breached a couple times now. But breaching is one of those things. We say we see it 1 in every 10 trips, but that's really just an average. It's more of a function of how many whales there are out here. Obviously, that's a whale called Pepper. Pepper has a calf this year too. So we have Firefly and calf, Pepper and calf, and Cardew and calf, all right around us now. But breaching, as I said, we say we see it 1 in every 10 trips, but there are some years, if there happens to be very few whales out here, Bubbles appearing at 10 o'clock right now, by the way. If there's very few whales out here, we may not see breaching except for 1 in every 50 trips. In years like this, however, when we have this number of whales out here, we've probably seen 20, 25 whales at least already this afternoon. With this number of whales in the area, the chances of you seeing a breach are pretty good on any given day. There's a little bit of the pectoral fin up out of the water, one of these whales. It's a whale called Peninsula that just dove close to us. And that was Firefly's calf that did those breaches, because I just saw the calf that's the calf out there at 11 o'clock. That's the calf that did those few breaches, and it just came up alongside Firefly. That's Firefly. I'll tell you a little story about Pepper. I guess I should actually mention where I keep calling these whales by name. I should tell you a little bit about why that is. Remember when we were watching the fin whales, I said that it's important that we learn to recognize individuals, but it's very difficult to do because with fin whales it's difficult to do because fin whales all look so similar to one another, and it's just subtle variations in dorsal fin shape that could be our only reliable clue as to the identity of the whale, except in cases like Lado, which is a whale that was hit by a boat. And obviously we wouldn't want whales to be hit by boats. It's just when it happens and it leaves a distinctive scar behind, we can use it to our advantage. But it's important that you learn to recognize individuals, because it's really only by following individuals that you can learn a lot about the population as a whole. And there's still a lot that we have to learn about these whales. But by following individual whales from birth all the way to death and seeing what they do throughout the course of their life, we can determine their lifespan, which is something we still don't know. We can determine their food habits. A pair of adult female humpback whales, and one of those whales had a lot of white scars on the dorsal fin. It made it look like the dorsal fin had been encrusted with sea salt, and they named that whale Salt. And the whale that Salt was traveling with that day, which had a very normal dorsal fin, they named Pepper. And Pepper is one of the whales that we have around us right now. So that's my little story about Pepper. Pepper is the second whale ever to be given a name, but certainly one of the most recognizable whales in our population. There's some feeding starting up in front of us over towards about 1 o'clock or so. This animal is a kick feeder, which is a little bit different style. I think there's a whale called giraffe. I have to get a better look at it to see for sure, but I think this is giraffe. It'll be my first sighting of giraffe this year, if that's who it is. But this animal is kick feeding. Not all humpback whales do this, but many of the younger whales will slash their tails at the surface before starting a feeding sequence. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but watch this bubble cloud, see if the whale comes up open mouth. Oh, not quite. No, I don't think this is giraffe. I'm not sure who this is. Yeah, I'm not sure who that whale is. But it's interesting that kick feeding, which you saw from this animal, where it slashed its tail at the surface before beginning that feeding sequence, that's something that in years past was very rare. Oh, bubbles really close in here. Another couple of whales at 4 o'clock. But in years past, that was very rare. There was really only 2 whales, a whale called 5J and another whale called Rune. And those 2 whales were known to be kick feeders. And before each feeding sequence, they would slash their tails at the surface. But then what happened over the course of the past 20 years is more and more whales started to use this kick feeding method. And now about 60% of our population, maybe more than 60% of the population, are kick feeders. And it's been a really interesting progression to watch because it shows that the way in which these animals feed, although they're always using bubbles to catch their prey, but the exact method that they use is not hardwired into their brain. For example,